for sure. It's all good.
Floor's yours, buddy.
You guys might have already gone over this, but Steven, could you just give me like the cliff notes of like what are you trying to sell? What's your role? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I work for a company called Bopper Music. So we do music licensing for advertising agencies, brands, and we're starting to get into networks. So it's an online platform. There's one side that's e-commerce. There's one side where it's more like involved, going back and forth with clients on searches. So we're basically selling music for ads primarily. That's our target market. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. So I don't really know where to start. I guess I could do my pitch, or I could show you guys how I do demos when I do them. I'd like to just like preface it with a bit about Sandler, because it's been really a big influence on me in terms of how I pitch. Because as my sales career, which has been about 4 years, I guess now, this is the first job where I'm coming in into a startup and kind of creating my own processes and writing copy, writing emails. I mean, I'm used to finding my own leads and stuff like that, but really getting into it. So the way I usually start off a cold call, if it's a real cold call, they've never heard of me, don't know who I am, it's the first touch, and let's say they pick up, or maybe even down the line, you know, they pick up eventually. I got it from a Sandler guy, Benjamin Dennehy, known as the UK's, yes. So
I stole that same line.
Yeah,
I use it too.
Yeah, so it's a pattern interrupt. You call them up and you're like, hey, you know, John, this is a straight up cold call. You can give me 27 seconds or we can end it now. It's up to you. Now, you can deliver that in your own style. When it's done effectively, I generally get laughter, which is great. And then when I start to pitch, now it's a bit different because I want to explain a bit like my industry and, you know, industry agnostic, all those things. But I try to pitch, and I've done it before, where I don't say my name or my company name. I just explain what I solve. Like, you know, typically when I work with producers, it goes in one of three different ways. Either, you know, they're looking for music, they call me up, I get on the search, I see if I can get them the right spots. Alternatively, they're a bit more hands-on. They're used to looking for music on their own. So we have a great platform. You know, they make an account, they log on, they see if they can find it. Thirdly, it's often, you know, a team effort. Creatives are involved, clients are involved. So it's kind of a mixture of me working with your team on this. Like, does any of that make sense in your world, or am I speaking nonsense here? So I'm going with like reverse, like a presumptive negative question to like pull them, because they see that like I'm trying to disqualify them rather than qualify them. And a lot of times they'll be like, no, that totally is how it works. Absolutely. By the way, what's your name? What's your company name? You know? And then at that point, you know, we get into it. And the thing that I've learned in the industry I'm in, because before I was working in the healthcare space with Marcus Evans, before that I was in immigration, where things are a bit more, I don't know, like measurable. Like music is so subjective, and dealing with creatives and producers, it's very much like a list. Like I don't want to start talking about like all the stuff that happens and like Harvey Weinstein and all this stuff, but like it's very, very, very schmoozy. So another person that has really helped me in my outreach, and I don't know if this is something that you guys have touched on, Beck Holland with personalization at scale. So you obviously want to hit your numbers and go as hard as you can, but personalizing it so it's not spammy, because people don't respond well to spam, especially when they're working in marketing and they literally like spend all day thinking about how do I sell these things without selling it. So like I remember like a lot of the tactics I've been using are going in like that and saying stuff like, you know, this person was ignoring me for so long, big, important music supervisor. They're very pretentious. And at one point I was just like, hey, I'm the annoying rep reaching out to you. This is what we do. It might work for some of the stuff you do, not sure. Either way, I saw that you included on your top 10 list this album. I love them. I think that's great. So keep up the great work. Thanks anyway, whatever. And she got back to me and gave me a bunch of business, which was cool. Another thing, I mean, I'm kind of just rambling here. I didn't have anything prepared, so you can cut me off if this is nonsense or whatever. Another thing that I've been investing in for follow-up to is video. Huge on LinkedIn video. I'm about to sign up, I think, for BombBomb, which lets you send videos by email. So for example, you know, I'll talk to somebody, they're a big, important person. Everybody's pitching them. You know, there's a million guys like me pitching music saying, hey, use me, give me a shot, blah, 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 blah. And so, you know, I make the contact, I do the pitch, and then, you know, there's a million other people pitching him. And it's like, how do you get his attention? So like, I'll send just the video. I won't even pitch him. I'll just be like, hey, Steven here. Hope you have an amazing Monday. check out this flute solo, and I'll like take an instrument and like play like a thing like anything to get their attention. And then, you know, I did that once, and the guy, like, we didn't close it, but he gave us like a big search for like a big thing, you know? So that's kind of what I've been dealing with. And I mean, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions or any feedback or criticism on that. You know, I mean, I'm learning.
Can you teach me the flute?
I used to give lessons, a lot of lessons, not so much anymore. But yeah, I would, yeah.
So one quick piece of feedback. So I think, like, you know, I can see Patrick cheering in the background, and I'm sure Patrick at the bottom floor here is also going yes on the, you know, your style and the outreach. Like, if it sounds like that's working, like you're getting through, you're breaking down doors. I guess I'm curious, like, where are you finding you're getting stuck the most?
Right, that's such a good question. So there's a lot of competition, and one of the things that I mean, in terms of my own walk, just as a personal like sales thing, is like staying top of mind is the big thing. Like, it's very easy for me to like get in and then like try to be on their radar, but to actually be like top of mind and not just, oh, it's another guy like calling me and he doesn't really care or whatever. That's a big issue. Another thing too is that for me, it's just overwhelming. Like, I love working, and like I have that whole like work on the weekend thing and stuff like that, but like it is draining when you're trying to like maintain your personal life and all those things, and just like doing all this stuff from XYZ of finding leads, you know, because at the beginning, like we had like a no script and we were calling these people, and it was just like we were doing what we could and it was good, and I hit my targets and everything, but like
what do you have for tools? Do you have a CRM? Do you have Outreach or SalesLoft or something?
Yeah, we use Zoho CRM. Okay. Works good. I use Sales Navigator on LinkedIn to get a lot of my leads. I also do a lot of lead research. Like, anyways, there's a lot of like strategic decisions. One of the big things too, I'd say, outside of sales is just like communicating properly with people on my team, because everybody has different ideas, and I'm one of the more sales oriented people there, and just, you know, like we should be going to every conference. I mean, obviously we can't be doing it now, but like they weren't investing in that. And like, you know, my founder went down to NYC, and I filled up his calendar with like top quality meetings. Like, he was like shocked. He was like, I can't believe you got me these meetings. These are incredible. But like in a way, like I feel like I should have gone, but at the same time, I'm like kind of nervous to do that because, you know, like my confidence isn't like super high or anything like that. Anyway, so I don't know. That was a really good question, and there's a lot of issues that I come into. Like, I'm good at making the outreach. I'd say, you know, top of mind, and just being organized and on top of everything, and having a way to personalization at scale. Like, not just spam people, like send that quick email of like, keep us in mind, but like actually like, you know, have that real connection. They trust you and they like you, because especially with what I'm doing, where it's not like a rational thing of like, hey, like obviously you need to work with us. It's like music. There's so much music, and it all comes down honestly to like personal preference. Like, I just like Steven, you know, and some people just hate me, and it's like, man, I'm not used to that. Or like, I'm used to that, but I'm not used to that in the sales world, where it's more like, well, obviously that's always involved. People buy from people, but I mean, you know what I mean? The Sandler thing of like finding the problem and solving it is not as straightforward as like a real estate transaction. Or, I mean, everything's emotional, obviously, and they can get into the psychology and pitch anything in frames and power frames and all that. But like, you know what I mean? Like that's the struggle I feel with. So it's a personal growth thing, and like time management and self-discipline, and like growing myself is something that makes me just a better sales guy. I mean, I don't
think I could do this job without an engagement platform, without either having SalesLoft or Outreach. And it's, I mean, so you said you have Zoho. Do you not have something like that? Like a sequencing platform, like you can build out an email call sequence and like drop a bunch of people in it, and it schedules your tasks for the day?
No, you see, I don't have that automated. So every task I have to like schedule and then do manually.
Dude,
and then, like,
I would honestly think of SalesLoft, like just remove their seat limit so that it's like $75 a month, I think. Or maybe they upped the price or something like that.
Yeah, it's worth it. It is worth it. I have to do the same thing because I have ADHD.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's no way that I would even be able to do it. Like, it seems like you've got like the phone call down. You can write good email copy. Like, I didn't hear anything that I would change there. The only thing I would say is for videos, for me, haven't been as effective top of funnel as they have been mid funnel. So once I get that first bite, I get like, yeah, let's talk. This looks interesting or something. That's when I'll start dropping in the videos, and I use the sequencer to help me do that. So, and everything's personalized. I think you're right on the right track. It's just a matter of like, using a sequencer to build out a schedule, and then it will give you the tasks that you have to complete for the day. Like, and you can experiment with it and figure that out. And then have a spreadsheet with your top 5, top 10 people in it. You can have multiple different tabs in the spreadsheet. One of them is like, who are your dream prospects? How do you fill out the contacts for those? And like, don't stop until you get a yes, no, maybe referral. And then the other screen is, I got a bite on this person. Like, I call them drafts. Like, all my draft opportunities, I'll put in a different list so that it's just something I can always go back to. Like, oh yeah, I called that guy and he said he was interested, or just so that I don't personally lose track of those ones. And I put extra time and care and attention versus just the cold outreach.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I mean, automating a sequence and using something like that would save me a lot of time and like sweat. Because especially, you know how it is during the day. You get on a call, you get an inbound call. Like, I'm on the chat too, you know? So somebody starts chatting me, hey, I have a search for this much money. I'm like, oh crap, I have to prioritize this. And so it's easy to like lose tasks.
Do you have a good way to get cell numbers? Do you have mobile numbers at all for
yeah,
people?
So again, for cell numbers are huge. I'm huge for it.
Huge.
I love cell
once
phone.
you have to get permission to do it, but once you're on a texting basis with somebody, changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, texting I've heard a lot of. I haven't used it too much. I've used it a couple of times.
You just have to ask, like, if you're mid funnel, you're like working on a deal with somebody. It's like, is it all right if I text you an update? Or like, can I, you know what I mean? Like, just get on that texting basis with somebody. It changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's really helpful. I've heard a lot about texting. I'm honestly like just getting into the whole writing thing. Like, I don't like writing emails as much as just talking, because I guess it's like you can see all of your mistakes right in front of you. But yeah, that's really helpful.
Mistakes are fine, by the way, I think. I mean, maybe I'm talking too much, but I have a lot of like investment in these exact topics. It sounds like you listen to Josh Braun a lot. You like read his stuff, just like the way that you structured that cold email. It sounded like kind of a Josh Braun template, which fantastic. I think that's basically the best way to do it. And 2, the other thing is that the mistakes are okay. It's perfectly fine. If the thing is Loctite perfect, it looks like a marketing email.
Yeah. The Boston came out in your voice then. Say it again.
Really?
See, marketing
email.
Stephen, could I offer something to you?
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right. So put the trainer hat on for a second. So first of all, thanks for the unsolicited plug, and actually had a little branding here. So as Patrick's saying, and as well too, certainly being able to do that pattern interrupt. If you sound like every other salesperson, you're going to get treated like every other salesperson, no matter how awesome you are. And so again, music to my ears here at the end of the crazy week. I'm looking at my list. I'm at 66 hours for the week already. So it's, again, music to my ears. And then a small world, Patrick, you're cheering on for Benjamin. I saw Benjamin earlier this month down in Orlando at the Sandal International Conference. So connecting all the dots. So you had mentioned at one point that sometimes you mentioned the word emotion and the emotion of these people that are involved. So what you said and how you delivered it was spot on, but maybe to incorporate a little bit, thinking about the pain part. So when I'm working with a client, trying to go ahead and say, as quickly as possible, let's find out whether or not there might be anything there. It's funny you say 27 seconds, I say 28, but at the same time, maybe you think about it in this way here. One of three different ways that I might be working with. What you said was exactly, because it kind of painted a picture from a complete stranger in a very short period of time. So maybe having also in your playbook is something it's pain, as one of my clients calls it, pain chumming. And think about those emotions. What is the number one frustration that person might be facing right now, which obviously you could fix? What is their number one concern that chances are if the frustration continues is going to be an issue, and what's overwhelming them and why they haven't fixed it? So, Stephen and I, a lot of times I'm talking to director like yourself, top frustration is they're doing this and this and this, trying to get access to, concern they may not have, whatever, and maybe a little bit overwhelmed by all the different people giving different suggestions. I don't suppose, right? So if the emotion is what you're looking for, and if some cases you don't feel like you're getting it, maybe having both. Walk them through what it might look like to work with you, which I think is awesome, but then also to have that one that's just dripping with pain in a very nurturing way. Because then if they go, oh my gosh, that's my number one concern, now you put them into the pain funnel immediately. So just having both options, and you probably, from what I'm seeing, you're probably going to find a way to mix them both together, and which is great because that's how you can take it and own it. And just a caveat for everybody too, I have a hybrid role, both producer and trainer. So I am 60% producer, 40% trainer most times. So anything that I say to do with a client, they'll turn around and go, yeah, listen to him, because I actually saw him do it yesterday. And I have my clients sit in, I will make live cold calls to their prospects using their pain points and my formula. Because I don't use script and scripted methods. I call it formula.
Just like Sandler did.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I really love that a lot. And that's kind of similar to what I do. And, Stephen, you mentioned that like where you're getting stuck, you feel like it's kind of like mid pipeline, like you're able to capture their attention. And I feel like when you get really good at like solid SDR, solid BDR, I mean, you just kind of have a intro that works, that hooks them in. The hardest part is to keep them interested. So when I started my job at IntelliMagic, they sat me down and said, we have a pipeline full of stalled opportunities. We want you to unstall them. And I'm like, okay, that should be fun. And so for the last year, that's what I've been doing, is trying to figure out, okay, these companies have expressed interest. A lot of them have shown up to a discovery call, a collaboration chat, likely even done a demo, or maybe a couple demos, and for whatever reason they didn't move forward, or they just kind of ghosted us, they went silent. So my job was to really dig in and to figure out, one, why, what were we not doing, what were we not telling them? Obviously something was missing in the way that we were selling to them, that they weren't able to continue moving forward with us, or they didn't feel comfortable or confident enough with us to be able to tell us honestly why we weren't a good fit. And I feel like that's essential too. Like you should be able to develop a level of confidence and trust in the communication process, that they could tell you no, or they could tell you, I've gone with your competitor, because that gives you something then to kind of enter in your CRM, set yourself some tasks to kind of nurture them, or pop up on their radar every now and again. And in a year, when their contract is up for renewal, or they're pissed off and angry, or that relationship is broken down, you're primed there to be their next call. So for a year, that's what I did, was just worked within accounts to figure out what's wrong, how could we help them, and maybe we can't, and I can have candid conversations with them about all of those pain points that they were experiencing, or I would figure it out. Like I would call everyone there, like not just the decision makers. I was calling analysts and people that were not even on the performance team. I mean, anyone that I could talk to that was willing to give me some intel. I was taking that, and then I was able to craft a much deeper kind of account plan. And I knew, okay, well, this is the product they're using. This is when their contract is up. These are some of the problems they're experiencing. And the more information I garnered, I did two things. One, I was on their radar because all of these people all of a sudden had conversations with me. So my name was popping up. Everyone had my emails. They were all getting like funny memes and some of the nurturing kind of stuff that I would send out. But also the emails and the communication from me became more and more specific to their needs, their problems, because I was finally able to kind of dig in and get some of that. And then all of a sudden these accounts, it may take a few months sometimes, but they start communicating with you honestly. And then you can really start to move a deal forward. So if it doesn't happen initially, there's something else going on there. Either one, you didn't sell the value or didn't sell the pain, and how you could fix their problems that they're having up front, or they just needed more time. They needed more time to kind of get to know you and understand the value that you can bring in a partnership with them. So that would be kind of my advice, is just to look at your target accounts, like take your top 10 accounts and take an hour and just dig into them and figure out who else can you talk to, what are their pains, what are their main problems, who's your competitor that's already in there, and just strategize how to get them engaged. And
yeah, piggybacking on that too, this is something that I've used a ton, is mess around with direct mail. So like Amy's exact playbook there, right? You're figuring out like, who do I have to talk to where? But if something's stalled and they've talked to you and you've gotten some kind of a heartbeat at some point, don't hesitate to send a handwritten note, or figure out what their major was in college and get a book, or send them drop ship them a book on Amazon, or just something goofy. Like you can go on Fiverr and have somebody do a caricature or something like that. Anything you can do to just like, wow, that was different. I mean, that, and you'll be able to get a response, but it's not going to, like, that's just to get the attention. And then you have to do everything that Amy said too. And Keith as well. Like you got to be able to identify those pain points, and that's how you're going to get the deal to actually move.
Hey,
Yeah,
Steve,
real quick, I
go
have
ahead, Patrick.
a
Go ahead.
question. You said something I think that worried me, but I want to confirm that you said it before I say anything. It was in your initial spiel. You were talking about like you sell mostly on emotion and you don't really have like real pain or differentiators. Did you say something like that? I think you did.
Yeah, well, I can expand a bit upon that, but I basically
Yeah.
said something like that. Yeah.
Could you please?
Well, you know, it's weird because our company is in a unique spot in the market. Okay, there's like two kind of companies. Like for example, I'll give you a prime example. David and Goliath. They're a big firm. I set up a lunch and learn with them. We've done some business with them. Okay, now they have contacts that they go to for music licensing. And what that means is it's these people who it's relationship oriented. It's like, oh, you want to license Snoop Dogg? Well, I know his manager. I'll call him now. I'll see the lowest price I can get to do that track. It's clearance. Now, we don't really do that. We just added it on as a service because we have a lot of relationships and people who can do that. So that's not really our competition, right? Now, the other side, David and Goliath, they use a site called APM, which is a stock music site. Now, the thing is that the way we're positioned is everything can be bought online like stock music, but we don't charge a subscription. Normally it's a subscription. We have no subscription. So I can't just like close a subscription. It's not like that. Everything's per project at a time. But we're kind of in this weird like in-between land where we're not all the way over here, but we could do that. And we're not all the way over here, but we could do that. Because somebody could go on our site and be like, hey, I really like this track. It's $1,300. Can you do something? Can you make a deal for us? And we've done that where we're like, okay, like, what's your budget? And they'll be like, I have 700. We'll be like, okay, we'll talk to the artist, and we do. And I mean, the artist is always down to get some money for their music because it's just sitting on our site, right? So we do solve problems. We do solve problems, but it's like the more, what happened early on in the job is I went in trying to find those problems or like describing problems that like they would potentially have based on, you know, info from coworkers and things like that. And a lot of the time there's just no pain there. They just be like, listen, music isn't really on my mind, dude. Like I'm pitching and getting rejected every day by Nike. Like I'm trying to win accounts on my own. I'm trying to save my ass here because the turnover at Ogilvy is so high, you know, like the creatives are fighting. The producers are trying to save as much money as possible. So like, I know we do legitimately solve problems. And like, the reason I got into the whole like schmoozy thing is because it's just, that's what ended up more working, you know? I mean, we have our copy and we follow up with all those things. And I do my best to find pain, but it just comes down to like, I trust you, Steven. I like you. You're on my list. And doing all these wacky things, like Patrick was saying, Stu Heineke, how to get a meeting with anyone, gifts, you know, sending them a shoe or like stuff like that. You know, I'm just saying things, but this is all stuff, especially for creatives. Like, you know, I use video mid funnel as well, Patrick. Like I'll talk to somebody, they'll give me a way in, and then they'll say, yeah, you can use my name. So I'll maybe send a message to somebody, be like, hey, I spoke to this person and I know they're a creative. So I'll like play something for them and they'll be like, wow, that's really funny and cool. I'll keep you in mind or whatever. And that's led to some business as well. So, but yeah, Patrick, I don't mean, there's two Patricks, it's weird. Yeah, but
Call
For
me
sure
D.
we have, we should, Patrick D. For sure we have like a thing, but it's like we're kind of trying to figure that out in the market. I don't know. It's weird. This is my experience, so I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts because it's obviously scary as a sales guy to not have exactly like, oh, this is why we're better and we're better. It just seems like it's like I'm a producer. These are people I can trust, and I know that you have this type of thing, and it's just a matter of having a really big pipeline and a lot of opportunities, and then it starts falling in. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe pain isn't as good of a word as like what's the business problem in general? Like why are
It's the same thing,
people-
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
they
know?
need music. They need music. A lot of times it's just an afterthought. It's like, dude, I put together this ad. We just got to slap
Don't.
something on it that makes the editor happy. And we want to do it for as cheap as possible because advertising agencies, like, I don't know if you guys follow this stuff, but like, you know, the model's changing. The big agencies are falling, you know, social media, like, you know, a dude can make an ad for like $50 that performs better than like a huge $50,000 production. You know, people, you know, just an ad of like me taking a selfie and like pitching or whatever is effective, and that can be done. You know, you get these. It's different. It's a different market. So a lot of these guys are being squeezed. There's still a lot of opportunities, but it's just like I'm learning a lot, and I want to have that super Sandler approach of like I solve a problem. But the more and more I learn, it's like, oh, you just got to get in and schmooze and have the relationship, and they trust you, and they just kind of give you business. At least that's what I've been seeing. And I know that
Your
sounds like
coworkers
makes me want to like
stop listening to your coworkers.
Yeah,
first of all,
absolutely.
that's fucking bullshit. Like, and you need to get that out of your head because
Yeah.
people don't buy for those reasons. They might tell you they do, but that is not true at all. So like, if you have any part of you that believes that, throw it out the fucking window and reset. Okay, because I'm looking at your website here and I'm like, what, these companies that are working with you, what are big companies? Adidas, Dove, Ford. Like, did they just buy you because you're the cheapest brand? Like, I don't believe that. And what
Yeah.
you need to be doing is you need to be calling up your customers and saying, hey, why did you buy me?
Yeah.
Why? Like, everybody. If it takes you 3 months to call everyone, call everybody and be like, why are you here with us right now? Why did you not go with APM? Why did you not go with these people? And it might be different for every person. Then you have that bank. Like, I think you were talking about a spreadsheet, Patrick. And like, you could even
Yeah.
make a spreadsheet of like, here are all the problems that we solve for each individual customer. Here's the kind of industry they are in. Here's the reason they bought from us. And then
Yeah.
you can start finding your reasons.
You have a CRM, you know, you've had conversations, you've asked questions, you've gotten some idea of issues that they're having internally. What we did in 2018 before I was at IntelliMagic is they actually they combed through the CRM and they came up with a spreadsheet of our top 10 main pain points that our customers experience or that we've had conversations with them on. And then we graphed it out and we created this cool little, you know, graphic that we could share on calls. And we're saying, hey, most of our customers are experiencing X, Y, and Z. Out of all of these, which ones, you know, are any of these ringing a bell? I mean, are they familiar to you? And that resonated a lot because we were able to figure out like, okay, well, this, and this are their main pain points, and it makes them feel more comfortable because they know that other people have said the same thing, and they're not like throwing their own organization under the bus. And then they'll get comfortable and start talking. I think the one thing that I'm getting from you is that on the surface level and like those initial relationships and conversations are tight. Like you can get their attention. But what you want to do is get them to go deeper with you. And that takes trust, and that takes understanding the nature of the organization. And like what Patrick Joyce said, the business needs behind it, like the why. You know, why are they making the decisions that they're making, and why are they spending money where they're spending money, or why are they not? And then kind of pivoting, you know, from there. But I think, you know, Elizabeth and Aleksi, you know, do you guys have anything to add there as well? I know we'll just talk all day, so just jump in.
No, I don't have too much to add. I feel like you guys have summarized it pretty well. Yeah, it's basically my input.
So
Sweet.
Stephen,
like
I have something. Elizabeth,
Yeah, I was just going to say that going back and talking to clients who you're currently working with, I think is a great strategy. That's something that I've done in a previous role to just kind of, if you don't know what your competitive edge is, to just kind of figure out from other people what they think it is.
Keith, you got something.
I do. So Stephen, so 3 words that I heard you use there, but the way that you used them seemed like they were inconsistent. So a little context. One, you said earlier differentiator, then you said the word better. Those two are mutually exclusive. So make sure that, like Patrick said, get that out of your head. You don't have to be better, you have to be different. And the best way for you to be different is to not get yourself down that path that it sounds like you're going to. And then secondly, you started talking about you started rewriting your phone script without realizing it. When you said, I call people and sometimes they say the music part is just not top of mind. Why aren't you including that? Even if the same negative reverse, the same takeaway, the same pattern up that you used at the very beginning that we're all cheering you on for, why not include that in? Hey, Steve, a lot of times I'm talking to a director and, they might tell me that, hey, look, I got a lot of things going on and the music part, it's important, but it is not top of mind, or it's like 6 months down the road, or I'll just find something off the internet later on, or it could incorporate that. Because if you're wrong, what are they going to do? Oh, no, Steven, actually, that is important. You know that they're putting it off and all kinds of bad stuff's happening later on. So leading with and incorporating those in there. And then you mentioned, again, doing the cold call script, doing all the great stuff, upfront contract, have that in mind. When was the last time you took the person halfway down the pain funnel before you get off the call with them? So I tell people, channel that inner Columbo, and depending upon your age, you might have to Google Columbo after this, and get super curious. Hey, Steven, and no matter which one they pick, always sound surprised. Steven, I'm surprised you picked that one. Tell me more about that. Why is that? And now you're like, okay, and that's how long? So the pain funnel questions are that guide for them. At the end of the phone, they're like, dude, I don't know who this guy is. He's full of energy. He's had way too many Red Bulls today. But at the same time, he understands what's going on in my world. The fastest way to go ahead and get trust is to go ahead and get the reason for some of that pain within the first 90 seconds. And without ever sounding pompous, I always put this disclaimer out there. If I take the stuff that I've learned, I could ask you 10 questions in 10 minutes, 10 questions over the course of like 30 minutes, back and forth conversation, extracting this information from you, plug it into the formula, and I could be the best lead generator in any company, in any industry, period. Now, don't ask me to get past that 20,000 foot level, but of course, but then I could dump it into your lap and say, hey, Steve, I talked to this director. Here's what's happening. Here's why it's happening. Here's how long it's been happening. Here's what they try to do about it. Here's what kind of the frustration of where they're stuck. Here, you know how to do that stuff in the music world. And so being able to take the things that you just said and plug them into the things you're already familiar with, how to go ahead and make it seem like, and as Amy was talking about too, you know this. I live and breathe this stuff all day, every day. You think about it once a month at best. And to be able to have them go right away, I don't know who this guy is, but and that's where that comfort level, which can start into the trust. But if you're not going far enough into that pain funnel, the why now, what's happening, like what's going on, why is it going on, and why would you even bother talking to me to fix it? If you can't get that sense before you hang up on the first call, it's going to stall and it's going to take longer, and you're going to be doing more chasing versus following up.
I think Keith and Patty D and probably Amy too are hitting exactly on what it is. It's that it's not necessarily about the comparison of A to B or even like schmoozing the people and like just getting a big enough pipeline. It's literally like that. I think from what I'm absorbing here, that's the part you have to sort out is why are people paying money for this at all? And it's probably even a simpler answer than you're giving it credit for. It's like, I mean, that and being able to focus on those things and draw them out, just like Keith is saying, that's what's going to win you deals.
Mm-hmm.
So
and the other thing too,
about it anyway.
a bunch of times, price, cost, get that out of your head, because you know what, people don't buy on pain, don't buy on cost, they'll buy on price. And if they do, they're not really the ones you want to be wasting time with. Are there some of those that are Adidas calls up and says, hey, we got this, and here, whatever, you work with people to get it. But if you're focusing on price, you're going to talk about price and you're going to lose on price, just from experience. And I've been 9 years in the trainer role. I was a client for 2 years prior. I owned a public relations firm. So I've been on both sides of it. And then Amy, somebody earlier, you said something about, hey, I think I've been called upon with something like that. There have been some people that have called me up with one of the scripts that you're talking about. and I don't care what was on my schedule. I paused it because I just had to go ahead and give him a chance.
Yeah.
So
You gotta.
instant relatability. If you already like, yeah, he's kind of right. I do tend to wait till the last minute. It is a problem. It's important, but those things are happening in their head if you plant that seed gently.
Yeah, give yourself more credit too, Stephen. You're like, just the conversation we've had here, I'm like, he's cool. I could have a long conversation with him. I would want to pick his brain and get to know him more. And what you want to do is you want to use that to hook them in and get them interested in talking with you. But then you want to switch gears without them even realizing it, to where, oh, now they're answering your questions. Now they're talking to you. So it's kind of like the, never split the difference, like you're mirroring, you're labeling, you're encouraging them just to keep talking. I've had calls with people that it was supposed to be like a 10-minute touch point call, and an hour later they are dropping F-bombs and telling me every internal problem you could imagine. I mean, and all I did was ask a few questions, and because people like to talk, they do. Once they get comfortable with you, they will talk. And the more value you can get up front in those conversations, those initial discoveries and stuff like that, the faster those deals are going to move. And they won't stall out, or you may get to the point where they're going to be more forthcoming and just give you a straight up no. And a no is a good start. You can work from that, because there you can see other avenues of how to get back to that, so that you can get a maybe and then a yes. But I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, and maybe, Bopper in general. I bet if you guys like had a session where it was just a deep dive into your current customers and why they bought, again, going back to that, and then also give yourself more credit. You guys are a legitimate business. You're making deals. There's a reason why people are buying from you. Figure that out and then ride that wave. I think that you'll do awesome.
Okay. And Stephen, remind me again, what city, what metro are you in?
Oh, I'm in Montreal, Canada.
Montreal. Okay.
Yeah.
So
if
I could make arrangements for you to go ahead and crash a course, just to go ahead and refine, because I'm with Amy. You've got it. You're just, you need to massage what you have. You're doing great with it. But if I can make arrangements for you to crash a course, obviously virtual is easier, or hell, you can crash one of mine since it's virtual at this point. Would you be willing to go ahead and sit in on a session just to be able to learn with some other people and practice on role plays, all that kind of good stuff to further refine that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always down for training. At my last job, we had trainings every day, personal trainings every week. And this gig is kind of like I'm out on my own. So I'm doing my best to self-discipline and all that stuff. But, I love it. So, yeah, that'd be great. No problem.
Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll figure it out, whether it's me or somebody in Montreal or a combination thereof. We'll hook you up.
Cool.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing for time? We're almost at the top of the hour, but I want to make sure, Stephen, hopefully you got some good feedback. Was there anything you were kind of like, you still haven't been able to ask, or now you're going, okay, awesome. You guys have helped me get to, help figure this out, but what about like that next level?
Right. So number one, you guys are all awesome. Thank you so much. Love it. Really, really helpful. The stuff that both Patrick's, Amy, Keith, everybody said, been great. Two things I wrote that in my hand so I don't forget. One thing that Joyce tapped on was cell phones. So my method for getting cell phones right now, man, it's like going on Google, typing in their name and producer, go in their portfolio.
Yeah.
And sometimes their cell phone's on the portfolio. Sometimes it's in their resume. Sometimes I'll find it in weird places.
You gotta be creepy.
Yeah.
You gotta be creepy. Do they have LinkedIn profiles?
Yeah. I add everybody on LinkedIn. I message them and stuff like that.
It costs money, but Lead IQ has a great database.
Yeah, we did use Lead IQ. I think we had the trial. We got a couple sales from them. My company hasn't invested in it. You see, these are all decisions with upper management.
No,
like
I understand completely. And it's hard to spend money on it yourself, but
I spent money on my own Seamless license for like a year because it was so helpful. And I got like a 50 to 1 ROI on it. So I'd heavily recommend it.
Yeah, Seamless or Lead IQ. And I would definitely look and talk to a sales loft rep because they have, I don't know, somewhere around $100 a month or something, but it's literally life changing.
Yeah.
Sales Loft, or outreach is more expensive, and it's for if you have a bigger team and a budget and whatever. But for a single license, man, like it's seriously like the organization piece. We didn't talk a lot about that, but I honestly think like 80% of sales development is in organization and list building. 20% is executing on, like the stuff that we've been talking about, like figuring out the pain points and all that. But most of it is staying organized.
Are you on TikTok too? Are you doing stuff on TikTok?
Did you see? That's another thing I didn't even bring up, the whole social media thing. So I'm about to go all in on that stuff. I made a TikTok account a while back. Didn't really do much on it. One of the things is a lot of my prospects are on Instagram.
Okay.
More so than LinkedIn. Like I'll add people on LinkedIn. They'll be like, hey, add me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I'm way more, they're creative directors. They're producers. They're maybe even, a head of music. Some of the agencies have dedicated music guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not even on Instagram. So it's
Are you growing your personal brand? Because you've got a big personality. Are you like working on that, like leveraging that and trying to get you more exposure just through who you are as a person?
Yeah, I've started on stuff like that. I've definitely seen a bit of ROI on it. I know it's a long-term play and stuff like that, but the people at the company, because of, the stuff that I've done, they want me to, get involved with those social media accounts, like the ones that have our brand name on it. And I can, send private messages like that. But that's definitely a part of it. It's obviously hard to balance all these things because you want to be like making calls and then you're on LinkedIn and it's just like, Before because I guess everybody has to go, one other thing I wanted to bring on, and maybe it's a bit of a sick subject now, no pun intended, about the whole COVID thing. One of my techniques that I've been using to call people at this time, because for advertising agencies, they're either really bored because everything's delayed, or they're dealing with a literal nightmare and their clients are freaking out and their creatives are pitching ideas and they're just like, it's just nutso out there. When I call people, and it's a good line, I think, in general for follow-up, I say, hey, it's Steven with Bopper. Maybe you can help me for a moment. I use it on people that I'm not super comfortable with. Like maybe I've spoken to them once, they couldn't really talk or whatever, or, whatever. And then I'm going back in. And that's been really, really, really productive the last couple of weeks in getting conversations and following up properly, staying top of mind and trying to I've had a lot of conversations where people are starting to open up more. But Amy, like I love that story you told where the person just goes on for like an hour. I've had that in prior jobs. Haven't really had it yet in this one yet. So I definitely need to get into that because that's where it really happens,
Yeah.
I know for a fact that I don't have the right answer to that question. To me, this COVID thing is unprecedented. It's a total black swan. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think it's by case, like some customers, like you're saying, sorry, Amy.
No, go ahead.
Some customers, like they're just like, whatever, life's as usual, I don't know, maybe they're making toilet paper, life's good.
Yeah.
And then some, they're just like, we don't know what's happening, man. Like if a creative's dealing with Delta, like, yeah, they're probably panicking. So, I mean, I think, Keith, you threw something good in there in the comments too. Like if the person you're talking to can't help you, who can? But I think you're coming at it with a bit of empathy. You're not sending these tone deaf type of emails that some marketers are like, hey, stuff's half off. Like, who cares? So, if you're genuinely trying to help, the one thing I wanted to bring up earlier that I don't know if you thought of it this way, but you were kind of saying the music's the afterthought. So, I mean, there's tons of great suggestions from everyone here. But one thing I've done sometimes, because if I know I'm downstream in the sales cycle with a client, is kind of position myself there and know exactly when they're going to need me, and basically almost like preset the deal. And so let's say they're going to be cheap, and so just say, look, man, I know you're going to need like some music at the end. Like, when do you think you're going to need it? I'll kind of get some ideas ready and tell me what your budget is, and let me run with that. Let me take care of that. So like kind of take that burden away from them. So so then they aren't kind of scrambling last minute and coming to you. So you can say, you know what, I know in 2 weeks you're going to need this. Let me ping you. And it's like, you're going to go in and do that work for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't want to do the legwork. And that's why deals stall too, because you put too much on your decision maker's shoulders and, you're saying, sell this for me. And they're like, no, I have a day job. Your job is to sell it.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I do there is I walk, like the way I look at it is my customer's not guiding me through the sales process. I'm guiding them. So I'm coming up with next steps and saying, hey, well, in the meantime, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be building out the cost justifications for this. And next time we connect on the call, we're going to walk through those, and you can help me, modify that. And the sense of kind of taking control a little bit of that conversation and that relationship there, and letting them know, like, I'll do the legwork, I'll shoulder that. All you have to do is tell me whose buy-in do I need, who's signing the check, guide me through, the what ifs and the pain and all of that. And the rest of it is you. And you give them that confidence, and they'll talk to you more because they know, okay, that you're not going to give them like a million homework assignments.
Yeah, nobody wants homework.
Yeah, no, they don't.
What'd you say here? Keith, I saw you put something in the chat here.
Oh, I was just doing it here. So, hey, a lot of times, Patrick or Stephen, when I'm talking to the directors about the music for their project, they're like, hey, I'm about to actually take look for something that fits. It's a couple steps away. We're like, oh my God, dude, it's the last thing on my brain right now. How about you? Right?
Yeah.
If you, and this is just using what you said, if they're in one of those 3 stages, just using that charm and that you have right now, just kind of put it out there and kind of building what Amy said to think about it too and what Francois said, they're like, oh no, we're a month out for that. Or no, actually that was gonna be my next call. Or you're right, last thing on my mind. Okay. And that's the like thing. So there's more there. So I just need to go ahead and figure out, I already have somebody in mind. We already have this. We already have to go to. So very quickly, you can kind of learn some information. And again,
that just reminded me, like, exactly everything Keith just said, just reminded me that, like, your job is not to turn no's into yeses. It's to close on the yeses and shift the maybes 2 or 3% in your favor.
Yeah, I don't do maybe.
I think it's just to find the answer.
Yeah.
More than anything. I'm not trying to
It's a
shift
puzzle.
anyone to anything. It's there. You just need to drag it out.
Right. And keep in mind, your job, Stephen, on that call is to extract as much information as you can from them in 8 minutes. And if you're on that call for more than 8 minutes on a cold call, you're probably talking too much, and you're probably not getting enough from them, and you're not bringing any value from. And so hey, Stephen, I know I caught you in the middle of like 20,000 different things. You mentioned to me that this is something that lives a couple weeks down the road. It is something you don't necessarily have somebody coming on. Can I make a recommendation? Let's go ahead and pull up the calendars real quick. Let's find something out there 2-3 weeks, because I know I'm going to forget or get distracted. I know you probably will be too. And let's just go ahead and do it, and we can kind of continue the conversation. Is that fair? And I'll send you a calendar invite with a rough agenda, which is your upfront contract. And that way you're in there off the phone. You put it into the CRM. Talk to. Here's what's saying. Here's what's done. Task is done. Then obviously, like what Patrick mentioned, if you've got any kind of sequencing, that shit's on autopilot right now, and you don't even have to worry about it until the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I see we're like 5-10 minutes over, and I'm on Mountain Time, but it's 6 o'clock on the East Coast, so I don't want to drag this on. This is super fun and helpful. I learn a ton, but I want to respect everybody's time, so maybe we'll wrap it up. But thanks everybody for jumping on. Stephen, any final comments?
I mean, it's just awesome. Thanks for everything. If there's anything I can help you guys with, I'm happy to. And keep up the great work. Have a great weekend, and stay in touch.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great
Don't
weekend.
be a stranger.
Yeah,
Bye,
cheers,
guys.
guys.